Welcome, Sweet Knits. Here we are. We are going to, I guess, do a sample project. I'll show you a few stitches, a few rows, get you through the basics, you know, all that good stuff. So it's not a complete knit along video. Nobody wants to watch me do this for 3 hours straight. That's how long it took me to make the sample. This is what we're going to do. It is Cute Dog Sweater by Christina something. I'll have a link in the description to where you can get this pattern. It is not a free pattern. I'm just warning you now. So just don't go searching for it unless you can afford, or not afford, because it's fairly cheap. It's about $4.05. But, you know, it's not any pattern that you can get for free. Yeah. Anyways, so they do this pattern in one color. I am doing it in two. I'm just lazy like that. I hate splitting up a new skein of yarn. So what I do is let me just move that out of the way. I have a new skein of pumpkin. And then I had this one saved over from the pumpkins that I did for Halloween. So that's going to be the main color. This is going to be my add-on. So when you knit all this and you get up to here, and this is going to be your main color you're still working with. You haven't cut anything. You don't cut it after you knit so far. But then you add a new color on, and that's where the brown is going to be. And you work that back and forth. And again, I don't think you cut it just yet. I like to leave a long tail to weave it in anyways. So there's that. And then this last section, which is a different shade of blue, will be my second ball of orange. So if you want to do it all in one color, just know that you'll have to split your skein into 3 different balls. Yeah, if I know my numbers. To 3 different balls. Or you can have 2 different colors like I'm going to do, and just have 2 of one of your main color, and then 1 for that secondary color. Okay, so that's the yarn that we're gonna need. Set that aside. The rest of the materials that you'll need. All right. You will need size 6 knitting needles. Sorry, that's the blanket that just jumped up there. I'm using circular needles, but you can use straight needles or whatever size 6 needle that you have. Just know how many stitches you need to put on your needle, and if that needle can hold that many stitches. You will need double points, size 6. Excuse me, set those aside. I'm going to use stitch markers for mine, for that part where you do the sections, because there's a little bit over here on this end and then a little bit over here. Pretty much these stitch holders will hold this section and then this section while I'm working on, you know, each section. So it'll start with, I'll work on this and then move everything over to the stitch holder. And then I'll work on this, move everything to the stitch holder. Work on this, and you know, you get the idea. But it's worked in a flat, so you don't have, we'll get to that later. And then, okay, so there's the stitch markers, or the stitch holders. You will need a stitch marker also, so keep that handy. You will need measuring tape and some way to keep track of your rows. Now I'm not using the stitch counter, but that's just an idea of what you can have. But what I'm doing, I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I laminate my patterns. I print them out, I laminate them so I can keep them forever. I usually have a 3-hole punch, but I haven't punched this yet for the binder. So I will just mark on it as I go. And that's how I keep track of my rows and all that good stuff. And just wipes off for the next use. So that's how I keep track of my stitches. Anyways. Oh, and you need a crochet hook. My crochet hook's in another project. Let me get it untangled real quick. I have a baby blanket in progress, and I'm using the same hook the same crochet hook. But it's a size G crochet hook that you'll need. Now I use this for 2 parts of the pattern. They only call to use it for 1 part of the pattern. It's all up to you. The way I use it is I do the crochet cast on, which I'm going to show you in just a second. And then you'll need it to make your little buttonhole or button chain, I guess it's called, because it's not really a hole, it's a chain. But okay, now before the cast on, let's talk terms. What you need to know, of course, is your knit, purl, cast on, which they don't have that listed on here, but they have bind off listed, so I'm not sure. And then your slip stitch and your SLKN, SL2K1 PSSO. Slip 2, knitwise, knit 1, pass slip stitches over. We'll get to that one because that one's confusing. Wrap and turn, which is very, very simple. We'll definitely get to that faster than anything else. And you should know the rest of that. So, oh, and as it states up here, if you see the dash, you just skip that row. So, hold on, let me... I have been doing this pattern many, many times, trying to record it. And now that I got a different way to hold my camera, my phone, we're just doing it that way. So I'm kind of unprepared, kind of. More eager to record this and get it over with than I am to make sure I'm prepared to make a video. Okay, at least I can see the pattern, and I'm using a different color marker, so it'll be fine. Alright, so what that dash means is that for these the 3 dashes, that's for the okay, that would be for the small, medium, and large sizes. You don't do that row. Okay, you for this one you'll do the small size, and of course you'll do the extra small, which is what we're doing, but you don't do the medium or large on that row. All right, and then down here it's the same thing. You for this you won't do anything past row 29. You won't do for the extra small because all those dashes. All right, so that's all that means. Let's get started on the pattern. I'm going to show you how to do my cast on. Now you can do any cast on you're comfortable with. But I'm doing the crochet cast on because I found it a lot neater. This is, don't need that. That's the crochet cast on right there. It's a simple, gorgeous chain. You don't have to worry about your stitches being too big or anything like that. If you need to add something on that side of your work, you can. So anyways, okay. I'm leaving a long tail so I can weave that in a lot easier. I'm using one thing I didn't get to, did I? Oh, it fell. Hold on. Gotta reach down to the floor. Whew. Oh, and Get that. Technical difficulties. Hold on. We will make it, I promise. Okay. Now, I think we're back to where we need to be for right now. You will need a yarn needle. And I have a very long one instead of a short one. So that's why I leave my tails a little bit longer, just so I can actually have room enough to grab the tail and weave it in without taking the yarn out of the needle every stitch trying to get it wrapped in there. So, okay. I keep losing that little needle, so I'm going to stick it in my sample work that I had done. So, now, let's try this cast on, shall we? Eventually. Alright. Now, since leaving the long tail, do a slip knot and put it on the crochet hook. Okay. You put your knitting needle right next to it. Grab your working yarn. And the easiest way I come to realize to explain it is you'll your chain or crochet, I'm not sure, but you're doing it around your knitting needle. So with the yarn in the back behind the knitting needle, you'll just grab it with your crochet hook and pull it through that loop. Now, to count your stitches, move that yarn back to the behind the knitting needle. You'll count the one on your knitting needles, or the stitches on your knitting needle, and the stitch that's actually on your crochet hook, because that will come over at the end. Right, let's show it again. The yarn is in back. Just grab it with your crochet hook and pull through. Yarn's in back. Grab with your crochet hook and pull through. And see how easy, it just looks like a simple, gorgeous braid at the end. And I mean, if you don't want to do the simple cast on, you can do any cast on that you're comfortable with. The knit cast on, or I don't know the technical names for all the other cast ons, but yeah, I know there's plenty of different styles to cast on with. Just however you want to cast on. Fine with me. And they don't specify how to cast on. They just say to cast on so many stitches. As long as you get that number of stitches, I don't think they care. But I am going to pause this video and I will be back, oops, with my last stitch to show you, I guess to show the beginners what I mean by this last stitch will be the crochet, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot talk today. I will be back to show the beginner knitters that are watching this how to put that stitch that's on the crochet hook onto the knitting needle, and we'll start row 1 at that time. Oh, nope. I will be back. Okay, so we have our number of stitches on here. I still have that one on the crochet hook. Now what you do, stretch out that stitch and simply put it on there, and then you tighten that up. All right, now we're ready for row 1. Okay, make sure all my stitches are good and my yarn's not tangled. All right, so you will slip your first stitch just as if to purl. So let that focus. All right, and just shoo, he just jumped off to the next hook. Okay, bringing the yarn in front, and we will purl. if I can. I swear I'm a better knitter than this. Okay. Your needles are crossed. Sorry, phone's not completely wanting to focus. Okay. Your yarn is in front. You wrap it around your front needle. I won't say left or right because I'm not sure about left-handed knitters, but okay, wrap it around your front needle. And there, pull your stitch through and jump them off. Alright. Just that, move them away from the edge a little bit. Wrap the yarn around. Now, to make sure I grab my stitch, I drag. I don't know if you can see, but my needles are touching. I like to drag my needles across each other to make sure I don't split the yarn, I don't miss the stitch. And then once you have that stitch on that needle, you let them go off the other one. Alright, one more time for the purls. For purls, you know, you take, your right needle, your right needle will go from the top to the bottom. Pretty much top back to the bottom front. Wrap your yarn around and you'll see if you can grab it from here. See that bar right there? That's what you're grabbing. That's why I drag my needle, so I'm guaranteed to get that stitch. And then I let them jump off. Alright. So you will purl this whole row. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I will be back for the second row, which is knit. And I'm only doing it this way just because, you know, it takes me a while, for one, to get through the whole row, so it'll make a longer video, and two, if there's an absolute beginner to watch this video, if they're doing this pattern, then, you know, I want them to know this is pretty much how you start. Just do it for the whole row. So I will be back for row 2. Okay, back for row 2. You can see it's still in the flat. Alright. I would love to see this pattern worked in the round. It might be a little bit easier. But anyways, so you're going to slip that first stitch. There we go. Just as if to knit, as if to purl. So your needles are crossed. There we go. Maybe it won't focus on the TV anymore. Instead, it wants to focus on that. Okay, we will get it to focus, I promise. Alright, and to knit. So, you will go from the bottom, the front bottom, to the back top. Okay. So your right needle's in the back instead of in the front. You wrap your yarn around the back one, and you'll still come and grab that stitch and throw them off. So the bottom front to the top back, wrap your yarn around. You can see that yarn right there. You just want to grab him and throw him off the left hook. And that is as simple knitting as you can get. Alright. Top, bottom, or front, I'm sorry. Let's try that again. Front, bottom, top, back. Your right needle is in the back for the knitting. Okay. And you'll do this for your whole row. For the next row, it's the same thing. It's going to be the purl, slip and purl. And so I'll leave you to that. I will be back for row 4 of the cute dog sweater. All right, row 4. Now you're gonna slip your first stitch. You're gonna knit so many. For each size is a different number. But that is after you knit, you know, your so many stitches. Let me flip that around. You'll place your marker right on there. All right. And then you're going to knit so many more. Now, here is the wrap and turn. Let me bring it in closer. Make sure nothing's tangled here. Okay. The first wrap and turn that we're going to do. All right. Keeping the yarn in the back. It's right behind there. You're going to slip your next stitch purlwise, like we have been doing. All right. And then you're going to bring your yarn forward in between those needles, and you will slip that needle back. That's it. And then you turn your work and you start your next row. Your yarn is in back. So, okay. Now, after this, the pattern may be a tad bit confusing. What you'll do is it has, it'll say knit so many. And then in parentheses, it says, so many before, okay. It's just easier to do it this way. Okay. That we're right there. K2, and then one before and one behind your marker, and then wrap and turn. That is simply saying that you're going to knit a total of 2 stitches. That's your total amount of stitches for that row. And then how you actually figure that out is one of those stitches is going to be before your marker, and the other one is going to be behind. Now, the rest of them just say, like this one, 1 and 2. That's 1 before and 2 after. That's all there is to it. So let's go ahead and do the second one. Sorry. Okay. So you just did your wrap and turn. And this one is 1 before. Move your stitch marker. And 1 after. And then your wrap and turn with the yarn behind, slip purlwise, yarn in front, and if I can grab them, slip them back, and then turn. And that is the wrap and turn stitch. So one more time. So many before. Now, okay. See that bar right there? If you ever lose count after your stitch marker now, if you see that bar, and that's the same thing on the purl side, you'll see a longer stitch over it, or a longer bar over it. So if you see that bar, that means you're going to knit that stitch. And the stitch immediately afterwards, the next stitch is going to be your wrap and turn. So slip as if to purl, yarn forward, and slip that puppy back. And once you finish that row, if you ever lose count, count how many there are. So there's just 2 stitches right here. So you know you're working 2 stitches before your marker, okay? So you work those stitches, however many there are. You move your marker, and then you work until you see the bump, which is right there. And see, you can either even flip it over, and you can see it a little bit better on that side. So that one we just did, and that one's our wrap and turn. There you go. Okay, you will do this however many times you need to for your pattern. For the extra small, you stop at 29 rows. And I will be back at the next section. So, oh, excuse me. The bottom of page 2 is where I will be. All right, thank you. Okay, I'm at the last part of row 29. I knitted all those stitches. So for the end, we'll do the wrap and turn, slip. Here we go. Yarn in front, slip back, and turn. Okay, so now we'll go to the next row. And this is kind of confusing because you have these stitches right here, and some people are not sure what to do with these stitches, but really we're not worried about those just yet, because technically at row 4 you already knitted those stitches, so those are already knitted, but these all the way over here aren't knitted yet, not for technically row 4. So what you'll do is just knit all the way across, take out that stitch marker when you get there, and continue knitting to the end of that row. So I'll see how fast I can knit to this middle here. Apparently not fast enough, but you get the idea. After you knit to the end of this row, you will for 5.5 inches, and that's measuring from the center there. For 5.5 inches, you will slip the first stitch and knit every single row. Let me get to here. Take that out. All right. Now, see if I can do this to where you can see it. So you are going to knit all the way. I would suggest keeping track of your rows. I mean, just grab your stitch counter, and every row that you do, start counting it. I would say start counting it from, you know, row 29 or whatever row that you're that you left off with, and that way when you make your next one, if you want to make the same exact one, you don't have to worry about measuring that one. All you got to do is count your rows. So you'll measure from that center and just, you know, 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters, however you want to measure it. I like to do inches. It's a lot easier to me. But that's, you'll knit, just slip the first stitch and knit the rest of the row, and you'll do that. I will be back for video part 2 after I did the 5 inches. But I believe that is all that I'm going to cover in part 1 right now, is the cast on, the basic knit and purl stitches, and the wrap and turns. So I will be back after I knit my 5.5 inches. Thank you so much for watching The Cute Dog Sweater by Christina, taught or helped by Sweetnits. Thank you so much.